Hello and welcome. Recently, I've been talking about measuring sticks, the ways in which we measure ourselves. So there comes a point when we realize that the sticks are there, what they're there for, when we can set them down and start living according to our own nature. So the other day I had a thought come up about my appearance that day, and I started to have a negative thought, and then I thought, no, that's the measuring stick speaking. I'm going to nip that in the bud. And then I thought, well, what if the bud isn't even beauty? Maybe it is evaluation. So every time the mind begins with its questioning, am I good enough? Am I too heavy? Too slow? Not smart enough? Should I go on a diet? Should I study harder? Maybe if I would just stop eating, thinking, doing, that is the bud. It's evaluation. So if you let it go too long and you don't nip it, all of that can turn into suffering, unnecessary suffering. So if you have any of those thoughts or ideas come up and they're not productive or useful, you can smile and say, oh, there it is. There's the measuring stick. And put it down. Again, no shame, no worry, no battle, just recognition. So as you know by now, I spend a lot of time talking about plants, and of course I have to look at this through the plant ecology lens. And plants don't spend a lot of time trying to become another species. Of course, a Palo Verde tree doesn't wake up in the morning and wonder if it should have been an oak tree instead. Creosote never wishes it bloomed like a cactus. Roses don't apologize because they're not lavender. The ecology functions precisely because nothing is trying to become something else. So instead of trying to improve your nature, start inhabiting it instead. So I'm a rose, let's say. I feel like a rose. I smell like a rose. I look in the mirror and I say, why don't I look like a rose today? That's where the measurement enters. That's the evaluation. But then when I recognize that structure, that is the completion of it. So that loop is closed. So a rose does not recognize itself by looking at another rose. It recognizes itself by blooming according to its own nature. The mirror can only reflect form, a mirror image. It cannot reflect fragrance, resilience, orientation, timing, relationship, or presence. Those qualities are experienced, they are not seen. So if the mind says, I've now become the rose, surely by now I should look different. Perhaps the rose was never about facial symmetry, age, height, weight, or any other physical ideal. Perhaps it was always about function. So what does a rose actually do? What is its function? Well, it roots. It opens when conditions are right. It carries fragrance beyond itself. It offers nectar without having to chase bees or other pollinators. It protects itself with thorns if necessary and when necessary. It doesn't bloom every single day of the year. So none of these things that I've just mentioned require looking a certain way. So I write in my books about these sort of things, and recently I've been writing about the way and the way becoming visible. So here, this rose example is demonstrating the way it's becoming visible to me, what the actual way is, but it's not the image. The way a rose is, its function, its presence, is not equal to an image. It's not just an image. It's just one component, one very small component of the totality of that rose. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Roses don't spend their lives trying to resemble the illustration on a packet of seeds. They simply express the life that's actually moving through them. Maybe the invitation isn't, why don't I look like a rose? Maybe it is, how would a rose meet this person in the mirror? And I suspect that rose would meet them without a single measurement.